Hello and welcome to the Overcut. I think we're live. We better be live. Ben, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Hey! Okay, so whilst we're just making sure we're live, we'll start talking anyway and see what happens. So, another cracking Super League race tonight. Round 3 at Bahrain. And plenty of overtaking. Lots of little juicy bits to talk about, Ben. How did you find the race?
Yeah, it was quite good actually. I had a bit of a recap last sort of half hour or so after the race to catch up on some stories and some news. But from the bits I caught of the broadcast and the bits I was watching, it's we got plenty to talk about, and it was quite juicy. I did quite enjoy it from my end.
Good. So obviously everyone get involved. The YouTube chat, we'll keep an eye on that, and on the GPV Discord channel as well. We've got a couple of drivers that are already lining up for interviews, so that's good to see. But first of all, let's have a quick look at some results, shall we, Ben? Let's get the formalities out of the way, shall we?
Go on.
Good, right. So let's bring up the qualifying results first of all. And once again, just like in Sepang, just like in Australia, it was a ridiculously close one. So in Sepang, I think it was a second covered the top 15 or something. This time around, a second covered the top 25.
Yeah, that's insane. When you look at some other leagues around, the top 3 might be covered by a second. We've got 95% of the grid covered by 1 second, and all using different engines. All cars are differently upgraded, and all the drivers are obviously top level. It's great for GPV actually to see that it is super close.
And as you can see, we had a brand new pole sitter for this race. For his first pole sitter, and I mean his season just goes from strength to strength. Fabio Sixter for Rfactor Racing. What else can you say about this guy? I mean, he's come in from he's had a couple of races last year. He's already had a couple of 4th place finishes this year, and now he's got his first pole position. Quite some going, eh, Ben?
Yeah, it is, and it sort of came out a bit out of the blue. So sort of last season there was inconsistencies there. We were sort of with pace. We could see he was quick, but obviously wasn't able to get the result in the race. But to come in and now only his 3rd race of this season, where the cars are still quite equal and be right up there on pole, and not only that, pole by just over 1/10 of a second, which when you consider the gap from
I was going to say, yeah,
that's a big gap.
That's the biggest gap, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the biggest gap we've had this year.
Yeah. And not just that, I mean, just on the grid in itself, the next time you have to find a gap of 1/10 between 2 cars is between 20th and 21st.
Yeah.
Except for 3rd and 4th. Oh, damn it. I've ruined my own fact. I was like, I've got such a good factoid.
the 2 Adonises kind of ruined it for us. But
Menno, we've got to have words.
But yeah, when you look at sort of from what 4th to 13th is a 10th or 10th and a half.
Yeah,
it's and they're gaining. He's managed to gain a 10th over it and pulled it out of nowhere. The last sector he was pulled out a 10th. Everywhere else he was kind of equal, and last sector pulled it out. So Rfactor found something for that final sector.
Or I wonder if he maybe got some pretty sweet slipstream, maybe.
If he does, he wants to be buying that driver a drink.
Excellent. So then we had Peter Burlak, bang on form again for Edge now. He rediscovered his 2018 form. Took him a race, but he's back there now, back where he belongs, right at the sharp end of the grid. Then you got the 2 Adonises taking row 2 with Masciuli just ahead of Zapala. Really nice performance from those guys, actually. They're kind of repeating their performance in Sepang in qualifying. They're starting to find their feet a wee bit and showing some good pace.
Yeah, it's something that we kind of expected Adonis to be quick. Obviously, we know the guys are quick there. We know Menno knows how to build a nice car, and he's got a new engine as well to build, so he's got free reign on that development. So we expect them to be quick. I didn't really expect them to be this quick this early in qualifying trim, but they have shown it. I think Eros was on front row for Sepang as well, so it's not a fluke by any means. And they're right up there. It is nice actually to see him. It is a nice livery as well to see up there on the stream right at the front.
Yep, definitely. And then Alex Siebel, reigning champion, rounded out the top 5. As we look further down the grid, there are a couple of names that are missing from the top 15, aren't there? One big noticeable one was Dennis Jordan, who didn't. You can't say he struggled because he was only half a second off the pace, but he eventually ended up in 17th.
Yeah, it is quite a surprise. Obviously, where the rest of sort of his stable are, the Seagulls, the box, and the Fighters all qualified ahead. I don't know if that was a case of maybe made a mistake on his hottest lap and didn't have time to get another one, or had traffic. We'll have to see if we can get him in actually to sort of explain it, because it is quite a gap between them. But it is easily explained as well. We do see drivers sort of locking up, especially turn one. Turn one's can be a right pain to get in there. And I think that's where he lost most of his time. He lost 2/10 just in the first sector. My guess would be he just made a mistake on his quickest.
Yeah. A couple of nice little shout outs. Wopke Hoekstra with a season's best of 8th place from Zurich. That was a really good performance from the Dutchman there. And then Ben Hamlet as well on his Super League debut for your team, Ben, Street Fighter Racing Systems. It's 11th.
Yeah, really, really pleased with Ben actually. As some of you may have seen from the article we posted on GPV, we had our second driver who's going to be missing the rest of the season. The replacement for that second driver, who we had a couple of weeks in advance, also dropped out. We dropped out about 24 hours ago. So he gave Ben the call then and said, "Look, can you race? Don't worry about the result. Just can you come in the car and do your best?" And to pop it 11th on a car that he's barely driven, a track that he's barely driven. I know he took pole in Super Cup, but Super Cup and Super League are two different animals. And to come in and beat some big names, people have already taken wins and championships and pole positions just this year, and to come in and go quicker than them was an amazing drive from him.
Excellent. So let's move on to the race now. Let's bring up the race results. And like I said right at the start, it was a stonking race. I think this was my favourite of the 3 we've had so far this season. Really nice close battles throughout, some excellent overtaking as well. I think it's put the Formula One boys to shame a wee bit, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think that although Bahrain was a great race for Formula One, I think again we're showing that Simracing is where the entertainment's at these days. Wherever you look, there was people going down the inside, and there was battles, and there was DRS trains, there was tactics and fuel saving going on. There's everything. There's everything there. No matter what sort of discipline of racing you liked, look 3 or 4 cars down the grid, and you had it no matter where you looked. So yeah, it was entertaining. We were obviously looking at our guys from where I was, but even that was just exciting watching those guys battle around.
Yep, absolutely. I echo those sentiments exactly. So it was Peter Burlak who took Edge's first win of the year. Finally, a person whose surname isn't Bock on the top of the step. You got Yannick Bock though in second place, so
he's not far away, is he?
Yeah, he's doing fine. He's not going to complain too much about that, I'm sure. And then you got Alex Siebel in third. Now that's only really half the story, because both Yannick Bock and Alex Siebel, they were kind of in the bottom half of the top 10 at the start, weren't they? And then showed some excellent pace in the middle of the race to give themselves a chance at the podium.
Yeah, I think that middle stint kind of elevated them to where they were. That middle stint was insane. I don't know if that was just pure pace or if they made sort of a strategy call and managed to make it work out for them. But either way, to get back up there from sort of a difficult sort of first stint is fantastic.
Yeah, and you look at the fastest lap times as well. I think, to answer your question, I think it was pace, mate.
Yeah, I just had a look at the best laps, and if you look at the difference between Petter, Yannick, and Alex, it's what's that, less than 100th of a second, that one.
Yeah, 7,000.
So yeah, and that's three guys, 3 different teams, 2 different engines, and they're that close. And just looking at the sector times vary as well. So it is an interesting one. If you are into your data, highly recommend going and checking that out on GPVWC.com on the results and checking out where your driver was quickest in what sector and things.
Good. Yep. Fabio 6th of the pole sitter. He had to settle for 4th for the end. He was fighting with Siebel for 3rd place towards the end of the race. A couple of technical gremlins over here had perhaps put a little down on it. But again, that's another 4th place. That's 3 4th places on the bounce now.
Yeah, he's proven that he's consistent. Obviously, we saw in qualifying that he had the raw pace, and just going from strength to strength. He may have finished 4th again here, but he showed he had the pace for 3rd. I think without those technical gremlins, he probably could have challenged Alex for a little bit more and maybe taken it. But yeah, I'm interested to see. I know I'm looking a bit far down the line now, but if he can continue this form and go and get a podium or get a win, and then ultimately does he stay at Rfactor at the end of the season?
Yes, well, this is it. I mean, silly
Early
season can never
prediction.
start too early, really, can it? So, 5th place I think, is my nod for driver of the day. Sergi Harris. Flag to flag's joint best ever result in GPVWC. He started from way back as well. I think he was in 16th at the end of the first lap. So to come through in 5th, and a solid 5th at that, it wasn't a lucky 5th or anything. He really put a clinic on some far more established teams and drivers. A very good performance indeed.
Yeah, obviously we were racing quite close with Sergey from the beginning of the race. With Ben, he was right there with us. And then sort of after the first stint, he just kind of disappeared. The first stint wasn't anything sort of spectacular, but the second and third stints were just spectacular. We just watched him sort of disappear into the distance, and we're trying to keep track on him and get what he was doing. But no, it was a great job from the Flag boys to and so to get up there from what was it 12 I think he qualified.
Yeah, he was way down. Yeah. Stefan Rouault 6th again, so again another good consistent drive for Stefan, continuing to outclass his teammate as well. They were really close in Super Cup last year, but so far in the first 3 races at least, he's had his number really. You got Eros Masciuli in 7th place. Again, Adonis qualified really well, but fell back slightly in the race. Do you agree with that? Do you see any reason why?
Yeah, obviously from where both Adonis has qualified to where they finished is probably the biggest shock and surprise from this race. You'd expected from quali pace to push forward, but yeah, as we were talking a little bit ago just off air about what their potential issues could be. We think it's the second stint that's the issue for them. They're very quick on the first stint, but when they go onto the harder tyre, I don't know if it's a case, like you mentioned, of switching the tyres on or traffic or not being able to navigate the traffic, or an error in pit call of where to drop them back. But yeah, it's something that they need to get hold of him pretty quick. The drivers are showing they're quick enough, but I think they're losing points needlessly at this point. I don't know, but it's those sort of mistakes and errors are the things that can cost you titles at the end. So if they're serious about going for a title bid, I think they need to sort of shape up that a little bit.
Yeah, and you can't even. I mean, their strategy was the same as cars that finished ahead of them as well. So I mean, even from a strategic point of view, they're getting the right choices made. It's just they're not quite delivering the same kind of performance, unfortunately. But one to watch. I'm sure they'll improve as the season goes on. And then we have Dennis Jordan in 8th place. So a lot of people's driver of the day, if it wasn't Sergey, it would be Dennis Jordan. So he had a punt, I think, in turn 1 at the very first lap, didn't he? He was right down at the bottom. I think he was second from last, perhaps, or something.
Yeah, he was a fair way down, wasn't he? I saw him drop down the timing sheets from the sort of first lap onwards. He kind of that first stint was all about just getting to his next pit stop.
Yeah,
and then from there repair any damage that needed to seriously be repaired, and then start the climb up. But that was a fantastic job. I know he was crazy quick in the straight line, and he passed a lot of people and down into turn 1, us included. But yeah, he always made the move stick, and it was always nice and clean as well, which was nice to be overtaken clean, which is nice after the first couple of races. But yeah, he did a really good job on that second stint. I think it's a soft tyre stint that really sort of brought him into contention for that race.
And set the fastest lap along the way as well.
And set the fastest lap, yeah.
That's a bloody good lap as well. Matthias Moose 9th. So that meant that only Evolution and Rfactor had 2 cars in the top 10. There's a factoid.
Did not know that one. There you go. Did not got that one.
I mean, and that's kind of put Red Archer where they are in the team standings. We'll touch on that in a little bit, but yeah, getting both cars in those points is so important and makes a huge difference to the championship standings. And Jeff Fournier finishes 10th. I'm going to sound like I'm a bit biased here, but he put on an absolute clinic of overtaking once again. I said this in the last episode, name me a better overtaker in GPVWC, and I'll disagree with you anyway. You got Michael Ayres in 11th, so flag to flag with both cars in the points as well. Very good performance from them. I'm sure that's going to be confidence building for the team in general, I think.
Yeah, I think they need it. Michael Ayres again finishing 11th, continuing his form from last season. But between that and the fifth place as well, that's fantastic. They just need to be a bit more consistent with getting those finishes. Maybe aim for double top 10 for the next race in Baku. And I think you're going to see them go from strength to strength. Hopefully, they've proved to be a really good team to have around GPV. So yeah, let's hope they continue doing well.
Good. Jerome Kuikul, Zapala, Milnik, and a certain Flo Gaia rounds out the points. Now, we've already had a question on the YouTube chat, which has been there for a little while, so I'll repeat it for you, Ben, and we'll get your response.
The first point of the season.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a suspect name. It's Sir Necrophile, which
I didn't want to say the name out.
It's all right. It's post Watershed. Right. Ben, your team scored your first point of the season. How does it feel?
Good, really good, but also slightly disappointing. We had a drive through with Ben.
Yeah,
and we were fighting the sort of the Fournier Kuikul Ayres sort of battle before that. So I think without that, we probably could have been a double points. After having a little bit of a helping hand from Yuli. Thanks for that.
Oh yeah, I was going to get to the DNFs.
But it's obviously we're pleased because we're now on the board and we can get going. Not the cleanest race for us. Flo got bumped down the order a couple of times, and obviously with Ben we had some tyre wear issues in the first stint, which caused us to change our strategy up a little bit, and then changing our strategy kind of caused the pit lane speeding. But yeah, it's looking good. It's looking good. We've got some fresh faces in the team. He's very keen to overtake. He overtook quite a lot of cars, especially the first couple of laps. So yeah, he doesn't mind sending it, and he doesn't mind working hard for it. And if he can do that on 4 hours practice, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do in Baku when he's got a good couple of weeks under his belt.
Yeah, excellent. And yeah, you'd rather you had 4 hours practice at Bahrain than 4 hours practice at Baku, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Baku's one where you need the lap time, you need the track time more than anything. I think more than it's very similar to Monaco, isn't it? You need the track time more than any sort of little gizmo we're set up. You just need to get that sort of track
just
time.
Need practice. Yeah, excellent. Good. Notable drivers outside of the top 15. David Fidek again. Yeah, it kind of just didn't happen for him today. He was involved in an incident with Liam Duval, which didn't look too good from his point of view, unfortunately. Lost his front wing, and that was his race pretty much done. You also had Wopke Hoekstra, who was running in the top 10 for the first stint and then had a spin, unfortunately. Fell down the order. I think we'll be speaking with Wopke in a bit anyway, so we'll get his side of things. And who else? And yeah, I suppose we'll go into the DNFs. So both Hawkeyes failed to finish again, unfortunately. So Hawkeye are really having a tough time of it at the start of this year. A lot of people kind of thought of them as kind of top midfield sort of area, me included. But they're just not quite firing on all cylinders at the moment.
Yeah, they're not. I don't know if it's just sort of one bad race is leading into another bad race. Obviously, Liam did really well in Australia. But yeah, obviously he got a bit unlucky at T1 when he basically got taken out, unfortunately. Which is nowadays in GPV, you once you sort of go off the track or have an incident like that, it's very difficult to work your way back up. Good old days, you used to be able to sort of have a crash and work your way back up quite comfortably, but the grid's too sort of competitive now, where if you have an issue like that, you're going to get straight back into the points. Both Storms as well. Both Storms DNF'd.
Yep.
Quite close to each other. Yeah, and obviously we'll gloss over the epic racing DNF.
All right, you keep bringing it up. Fine. So Right Kilk, our beloved Right Kilk, he was running sixth with about, was it 3 laps to go? Was it?
Yeah, it was very close to the end.
And his engine unfortunately nuked. So that's one Valiant down the gutter. I think that's the first Valiant engine failure of the year, and it happened to be.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, is that Right Kilk keeping his drive for Baku?
Oh yeah, it wasn't him that blew the engine up.
Okay. So I got sacked for blowing mine in Sepang.
Yeah, no, we're a little bit more classy up in Super League. No, so yeah, Right Kilk. The guy, if he hasn't got bad luck, he's got no luck at all right now, unfortunately. But showed great pace. So I'm very happy with him. Thank you very much for inquiring, Ben. I won't be bringing you into the seat anytime soon.
I thought that's my one chance to come in, but no.
Good, excellent. So that's kind of a nice little roundup of the race. Start giving us your thoughts about how you felt the race went from your perspective, even if you're a viewer, if you're a driver, if you're a manager, whatever. Start dropping us some lines and we'll get you involved and see what everyone has to say. Right then, so shall we try and bring some people in and have a nice little chin wag?
Yeah, I'll see. Who do you want to drag in first?
Well, I was just looking at the list, and we've got a face there that I don't think we've ever spoken to before, and it goes by the name of Mohammed Patel. So,
okay, yeah, I didn't see him on the list actually.
So Mohammed Patel, I believe he does engineering for Edge Esports in GPVWC. He did a couple of races last year, and I think did he do the preseason test this year as well?
He did, yes. Yeah, because Petter was missing the start of the season, wasn't he, for ESL? So he did lots of the preseason stuff. So he's quite involved, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. So we'll bring him in. I'm sure he doesn't actually know how Overcut works, so he's probably not expected to be brought in anytime soon, especially as his mic is muted. So it might be awkward for a couple of seconds whilst he realizes he's actually on. But shall we bring him in and see what happens?
Yeah, go for it.
Mr. Patel, do you hear us?
Yes.
He was waiting.
No. I was just finishing some work off, so.
It was classic timing then. Good stuff. So, Mohammed, congratulations on the win for Edge Esports. You must be very pleased with your driver's performance tonight. How was it from your point of view?
I think Petter did a great job, to be honest. I think, to be honest, because of the fact that we have a couple of different competitions we were in, and also Petter and Danny were away in Madrid when the season started, we had a couple of, let's say, clashing priorities. So we were a bit behind the game. So today, or at least in preparation for this race, we had a couple of us working on the car, and we hoped that we got a bit more of the performance back from Malaysia, which we were lacking, because I think in Malaysia we struggled a bit with traction in the race stints. So we were a bit poor in the stints just for grip in low speed corners. And in Sector 2 we got destroyed as well. So we had a lot of we were scratching our heads a bit. And then I think like a day or two ago, just before the race, Michele did some good tweaks, and we all got on the right wavelength with the setup, and it all kind of fell into place for Petter today. So
there we go. So that last stint, were you sweating a little bit when Yannick was on the ultras and Petter was on the supers, or did you think, nah, it's under control? Petter will have the better tire life at the end of the stint. We just need to keep it nice and steady.
I let Petter know a little bit about the pace that Yannick was doing, and he said that he's just protecting his tires and could maybe do an extra 10th or so if he needed to. And initially I had the feeling that maybe 19 laps on ultras might be a little bit of a stretch, considering Yannick didn't have dirty air this time of Eros in the first stint, which allowed him to maybe perhaps do 18. And then of course you don't really know, because since I don't properly practice as much as what I would do if I raced, and only do maybe 50 laps or 100 laps to help with setup a little bit. I just hope that Petter has the right pace or good enough. And then when I saw that Petter in Sector 2 always had a very good Sector 2 lap time, and then was more or less matching his pace, you would always assume that the supers remain their pace remains better during the stint compared to the ultras. So it seems that he had it under control. So of course, Yannick did great because he was 8, 6, 7 seconds behind and closed it to 2, 3 seconds. But I think Petter, although had a tough race, was just about comfortable. Not comfortable, but
Good, yep. And his teammate, Daniel Kish, he was the first retiree of the race, I think. Was there any particular reason for that, or was it just the first turn melee?
Yeah, Danny unfortunately got caught up in turn 1. I saw the replay as well. I think he was like 5 wide in turn 1 or something crazy like that. And his rear right, he had contact on his rear right, and I don't know, like 20 degrees bent suspension. But it's been the story of his race season so far, unfortunately, not just over here. He's been a bit unfortunate, or let's say lacking a little bit of pace in qualifying. So hopefully, if he gets that right, we all know how good he is in the race. So hopefully round 3 will be where he can kickstart his season in Baku.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. It's still early doors in the season, isn't it? So as good a time as any to get rid of any bad luck. And once you get a nice little run going, there's hopefully no stopping you guys. So you did some preseason testing with the team earlier this year. What do you make of the mod? What kind of characteristics have you discovered with the mod, would you say, without obviously giving away any of your secrets on this?
Not official preseason testing. I didn't do that in the test sessions that you guys.
Oh, did you not?
No.
I thought you were.
But I probably did for Malaysia and Bahrain maybe a total of 100 laps combined. And in that, the car's a lot better than last year. It's tough to say because I think there's a couple of different directions that we had ideas of. And in general, what we found tricky was to make the rear work on throttle, especially. Because I think, like, for example, Pescara or Eros Masciuli, his team, I think they do really well in qualifying, but perhaps in the race, it seems like they lack a little bit of traction. Whereas whenever you look at Yannick's car, when I was watching him in the race today, his car is planted. So I think they have perhaps a little advantage on us on the setup. But this year the car is a lot less, so the rear doesn't rotate as much compared to last year. So last year the car was a bit more rotation happy compared to this year, and perhaps that's why Yannick might be a bit more competitive. I'm not sure because I've not really spoken to him, but for sure I've not really known him in other leagues. So from like a small watching him for a race or two, I get the impression that this year he's done well so far. The first 2 races, he's
done very well.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ben? Is this kind of Edge's found their feet again now and happy times ahead, or do you think it might still be a bit of a challenge for them moving forward as they catch up the gap as such?
I think Edge have got the quality in the team to push forward and continue to be a title challenger like they were last year. They're the only ones to really challenge ACR. Evolution have kind of complicated that now by sort of sticking their nose in kind of rudely at the top there for them. So they've got Edge have now got to fight both sort of Edge. They've got to fight both Evo and ACR, which is going to be difficult. They've had a cracking start. Obviously, Mo mentioned the conflict of interest at the start of the season, which obviously didn't help them. I think both drivers missed Australia. Both race drivers missed Australia. So it didn't help, but they are now clawing back some points. We know Petter's one of the best drivers on Rfactor 2, period. No matter what car you put him in, he's going to be quick. But I think like I said, I think they've got the quality to push forward and continue to push forward. I'm looking forward to the European rounds because last year in the European round, Edge were really quick. So I'm looking forward to that and sort of where the development takes them and seeing where they go around sort of Barcelona and Monaco and things.
Would like to say probably, well, it depends because on one hand you have 3 teams this year. So last year Siebel, if Petter or Jarl were struggling or maybe not beating him, Siebel more or less all the time won. So now with Alex, Yannick, Dennis and co all there, you have some opportunity that Yannick might finish 5th, like, you know, and it's a lot closer. So perhaps there's a bit bigger swing. Let's say it's more about consistency, and about setup and development is a bit too early to say, because we've only been competitive for one of the 3 races so far, let's say, and ACR and Evolution have been there for all 3. So we need to prove ourselves again for the next race, to show that Petter can compete and Danny can compete at the top, and then we can build on. We just have to build on this performance. It's not, and try to find, let's say, an extra one small step, another small step.
Yeah, good, excellent. Last question, then, Mohammed. Are we going to see you on the track in GPV this time? Well, this year at all?
I'm not sure. It's too soon to say, because I was thinking about it, but also I have work, so Thursday evenings aren't so great for me. But let's see what will happen. I will only race for Edge though, so don't expect to try for another.
Well, there's my last question gone.
So yeah, maybe like last season, I had to fill in for, I think, Jarl it was.
Yeah.
So if I would only race in those type of scenarios, just as a reserve. But also Jarl, I think, is reserve, so but he will probably be first reserve anyway. So I don't expect to.
Okay.
Who knows? We
Watch
have
this space. Watch
Yeah.
this space. Good. Excellent. Howard. Lovely talking to you. Thank you for dropping by. Hope it wasn't too painful.
No. I saw these, like, you guys do this podcast afterwards. So I was like, I'm a bit free this time, so why not pop by and have a chat?
Good stuff. Nice one, mate. And take care. Congratulations again. Good win. Good job.
Take care. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye. Good stuff. Excellent.
Oh,
So
nice
a little
bloke.
bit of lovely guy, isn't he? That's the first time I've actually ever spoken to him, so I wasn't sure what to expect. But no, lovely guy. Good, excellent. So yeah, I mean, Edge, they've made up for that conflict of interest, I think they called it at the start of the year, perhaps. And I think they're there, really, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. When you look at it, if you look at the standings, the points table looks a bit daunting for Edge at this early stage, but it is only early.
Yeah,
we've seen just how quickly it can change with a run of technical issues. You can be right back in there. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm quite looking forward to it. Everybody said the grid's a lot more competitive, which it obviously is. So we could have maybe 3 or 4 teams battling it out for the lead.
And that's a very good point, really, is that if one of them has a bad day, it won't be 3rd or 4th, it could be 6th or 7th. And yeah, that's quite a difference, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it quite early on with drivers, sort of, Jordan this evening with his qualifying, potentially had a bad lap and got dropped all the way back. So it's not a case of maybe a couple of years ago where you could miss a couple of tenths and still end up top 3. It's you miss a couple of tenths and you're missing out on the top 15 now. So yeah, you got to be perfect these days.
So the YouTube chat's exploded a little bit whilst we were having that interview, which is good to see. Controversial view: some teams have drivers that simply aren't good enough. And then Ben, you wanted names. We need names.
I asked for names. Names, indeed. I don't know if any names have come through yet, but
let's have a little look. Yeah, he has named one. Do you want to see the name? Have you seen the name? Do you want to see the name?
Oh, I've just seen the name.
You've seen the name?
I've seen the name. Well, there's 3. There's one name and 2 other drivers.
2 others. Okay, good. Jeff saying blame the Epic Racing School. Well, that's where Jeff came from, so.
So about that contract till 2080.
Yeah, that's casting gold. I can't tear that one up. Tom Parker saying, "I am literally incredible." Yeah, but Tom, you're not racing, so you don't count.
Tom would be incredible if he was racing. He's he's a great guy and a great driver. Tom, I've had him as my teammate at GSR actually for a little while. So Tom, maybe come back.
He drove for Epic as well in a few of the independent series. So yeah, we're both very well accustomed to Mr. Parker. I think he's going to come on in a bit. So
I don't think there's many teams that Parker hasn't driven for, from what I've done in his 12 years of GPVWC. I think if you look at his resume, it's a who's who of teams. So he's well versed as Tom.
Right. So we've got quite a few drivers that are actually waiting for an interview here. Christ. Right. Okay. I think what we're going to do next, should we bring David Feideck in quickly, because he had a rough one. Let's get a bit of a perspective from a little bit further down the order today. Let's bring David in, have a quick chat with him, see how he's feeling, and see how he's feeling for the season as a whole. Let's bring him in. Hello, David.
Oh, hello.
Hey. Yes.
We caught one unawares.
Yeah, perfect. Hi, David. How are you doing, mate?
I just jumped the whole queue of people waiting. I'm going to be enemy list number 2 again.
No, it's good. It's good. Well, I saw you come on. I was like, oh, we'll get you in now before you disappear again.
Oh, thank you.
So, David, not the best of times in tonight's race, it's fair to say. You had a little bit of a mishap with Duval early on in the race. Talk us through that. What actually happened?
I've already spoke to Liam and apologised. Held my hands up. It's obviously 100% my fault. Not to find an excuse, but we were going down into turn 1. And, I was lining up a move, and I'm still not. I haven't got the replay, so I'm still not 100% sure. But he lifted off for his lifting coast as I was doing my move, but I should have pulled out earlier. It was completely my fault. So publicly like to apologise to Liam. Sorry for that. Messing up your race.
That's very honest of you, David. It's quite refreshing, actually, to hear a driver put their hands up. That's good of you. You managed to continue racing, though, and you, in fact, finished 16th. You were one place out of the points. So testament to your perseverance that you saw it through, at least. After that, I can imagine you had to change your front wing. Did you have any other damage that you had to deal with as well?
The car map at the bottom said there was no damage. It felt sluggish on the straight. And then I got mixed up with another driver. I can't remember his name now, but my car decided to go blue again, so it was good fun. But I'd never quit. And that's one thing I'd never do to a manager, is pull in mid-race when you've got a fully working car.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you got to pay your manager back somehow. But sadly, I'm doing it at the wrong end of the table at the moment.
So yeah, I mean, it's not been the best of starts to the year. I mean, you've got high expectations anyway, so you're obviously not going to be pleased with where you're at the moment. But as a whole, you're 3 races into your career of ACI. You've settled into the team nicely now, I'd imagine. How are you feeling within the team itself? Do you still feel, I can still have a fair crack at this, or is it kind of, oh, what am I doing wrong? What do I need to do? Why is Alex so far?
Oh, I have a good cry and moan every race. Yeah. Why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
No. I mean, through testing, we see the lap times, and we do race stints and sims, and I know what I can do, and this race was the first race that I was comfortable with the setup. The first 2 races I was just spinning all the time, and I actually spun in both races as well. So yeah, this race was the first race I felt comfortable, and I thought, I can do something this race. Qualifying, the downhill double left, I was 0.2 up on my time, and I was like, oh, carry this on, that can be P2 on the grid, sweet.
Yeah.
And then the next corner I was like, yeah, you're a twat.
Yeah.
And just lost those 2 tenths. But anyway, I mean, I definitely feel I can carry on and compete at the top. Yeah, I mean, I've just got to show it on track, like Alex is. I mean, I've not been light years away at quali pace. I mean, I think each quali session has been 0.1 between us, which I didn't expect this early on. And race pace, even the stints we were doing yesterday, we up to the first stop we were pretty equal. So it's just doing it on track, and making everyone else shut up and leave me alone. I really want to quote Valtteri Bottas after Australia.
Your time
But,
will come, I'm sure. I'm
I
sure it'll come.
just finish each race and expect a message from Mike going, okay, someone else is in the car now. But he's like, no, we've seen the times, we trust you, you know, we believe your ability. And to be honest, him and Alex and the guys keep my head down. And you know, they always say I'm putting too much pressure on myself, which is true, because you know, I'm in ACR. I want to be, you know, I should be on the podium. That's what people expect from ACR. But yeah, it'll come. You know, I'm not too worried at the moment. The only thing I feel right now is, well, apart from ruining Liam's races, I feel bad for, you know, letting the team down. You know, I don't know what I got in Australia, a P10, P9.
Yeah, it's a fringe of the 10, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the only okay-ish points I got. So I've got to step up now and you know, show what I can do.
Yeah, no one can doubt your skill, and obviously your previous results back that up. So I'm sure, is it just a matter of everything just needs to click, basically? You just need to have that qualifying session where you've got the most out of the car. You need that race where the opening stint's nice and clean, and then you get into a rhythm. Is that all it requires, you think?
Yeah, that's just it. I mean, I mean, even the start of this race, I tucked in behind Alex and Yannick, and I thought, okay, just sit here and do what like we do in the race sims, just stick to their wing and follow them through, because you know the setup we had was pretty good for a race. But then I don't. People are just crazy at the first lap. I mean, I also had a couple of screen stutters out of turn, depending on which track map you use. Turn 3, the right-hander, and 2 cars were each side of me, and they both sandwiched me in. And I was like, I'll brake because I know you won't. And then Jeff, bless him, Jesus, he made one hell of a move lap 2 on me, like 3 car lengths
that
back.
was broadcasted, yes.
Oh my god, I was like, yeah, all right, I'm safe from that guy behind me. And then Jeff just shoves it down and says, oh wow, okay. That was a really sweet move, actually. But yeah.
Good. Ben, what do you make of David's season so far? It's been a tricky one, but from your point of view, what do you think?
Yeah, it's been tricky. Obviously, we know David's been around for a long time. I think he used to bitch and moan when he was winning. To be fair, that he didn't win by a bigger margin. But I mean, you know, he's known as Mr. Consistency. It's what everybody knows David Fidek is in GPV. So I'm betting that you'll come good in the next couple of races. Is there a race that you're particularly looking forward to? Is there a track coming up on the calendar you think, right, that's my race, that's one I'm going to dominate?
Bahrain. I felt so good here with the setup, like I said, but yeah, depending on what happens with Liam, if he protests, I expect he will. Obviously, Baku will be another disappointment. I'll have a grid drop, so then it'll be Spain, Monaco. Monaco, I love. Spain, I normally am quite strong at. It suits my driving style. And I don't even know the rest of the calendar, so I can't comment.
Monaco is a race I'm personally, because if the grid stays as tight as it does around the tight streets of Monaco, that could be that race could go one or two ways. It could be an absolute boring race where the grid order sets the race, or it's going to be, mad dives and lunges and pit strategy and just chaos. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to Monaco. I know a lot of people say Monaco shouldn't be on the calendar. I'm one of those that disagree. I think it's probably the one race that should go straight into the calendar.
Yeah, definitely.
It's one of my favourites to watch, to race. It's a challenge, and with the grid being so close, it's qualifying there is going to be absolutely insane. I'm really looking forward to that. 30 cars around Monaco, yes please.
How crazy was quality today, by the way? Like top 20 within a second or something?
Yeah,
top 26.
Yeah,
top 26. Incredible. So yeah, it is interesting, and obviously, David, you've been around since the good old Rfactor 1 days where you could make a mistake, lose 3/10, and still sort of be on pole. It's not quite like that anymore. It's insane. Are you enjoying being in a grid that's super competitive? now. It's like where you do make a mistake and you are losing a lot of places.
Yeah, definitely. It brings out the best in you and like adds pressure to, you know, the actual situation. Like my guys, Matt on Super League Lights yesterday was actually shaking during his quali laps. Like you could hear his wheels shaking. I'm like, that's your feedback. He goes, no, that's me. You know, the pressure it puts on people is crazy this game, and yeah, it just makes everyone, you know, I don't know the word, brings out the best, or you know, makes you flop really. But yeah, qualifying in Monaco will be interesting. Yeah.
We've got a response from your team manager about your Bottas comment. You know, you said you wanted to drop the Bottas line at some point. Mike Pimman saying you have to grow some facial hair first.
I have. Take a photo. I've got.
Oh, you.
But I'm thinking it's bad luck now, so I might shave it off for the next.
Excellent. Good. Right. Cheers for stopping by, David. Good talking to you, and I hope you turn the corner. I hope your season picks up nicely, mate.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Take care, mate. Good. Right. Excellent. So that's a couple of drivers down. I just realised we didn't check the championship standings, did we? We'll do that. We'll do that a bit later because we were talking a lot without actually interacting with people. So we'll do that later. A few more comments on the YouTube chat. I don't know if you've had a look at these, Ben.
I haven't. One thing I did want to say though, actually, in between Australia and Sepang, my graphics card blew up, which left me not able to race as it stood. David actually offered me a replacement graphics card to be sent. I did manage to get it sorted out, but yeah, considering I was racing against his guys in Super League Lights, and you know, he was he knew I was going to miss the race otherwise. He offered to sort me out with a graphics card. Luckily, I managed to sort something out. But the gesture was insane. It shows there are some nice guys on the grid. He is a really good egg, really good egg.
Good stuff. Excellent. Right then. So, Tom Parker, fun fact: if I was to win the title of Evolution this year, you're still not racing, Tom. I would be the first person to win 3 constructor starts with 3 different teams: CSG, VB, and Evo this year. If you do, I love Tom, but he does like to blow his own trumpet a little bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, true. But I think he's been around long enough. He's got the results.
He's entitled to.
Yeah, he can kind of do it. I mean, the stats do kind of back him up. I know he hasn't been active in sort of Super League for a number of years now, since he's been like sort of full-time Super League. But when he was, geez, he was quick. He
was indeed. So they're also still talking about some drivers who perhaps don't belong on the Super League grid. They're now talking about the Storm drivers. They're still having a tough time of it, Storm. I think we both singled them out as perhaps relegation favourites this year, unfortunately. Still isn't working for them.
Yeah, and I think it's after talking to some people, it's not just the case of the drivers maybe not being good enough. It's maybe a case of kind of not being safe enough. There's a lot of sort of grumbles about the driving standards of those 2 drivers in some cases. Some instances, I haven't personally had a look at the instance, but for over the last couple of races, they are the 2 names that do sort of keep getting mentioned. So yeah, I don't know. They do need to pick it up pretty quick, though. We did sort of get onto it quite early on, and that could be one of our predictions.
Yeah,
that comes true a little quicker than we protect.
We have to be right somewhere.
yeah, exactly. The teams we haven't really got right anywhere. So
yeah, that's got to be one. Right. So let's bring another peddler in. Let's bring in another newbie to the show, Wopke Hoekstra. I've worked with Wopke before. Have you worked with Wopke before?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, Wopke was one of our
people, but not Wopke, I don't think.
Yeah, he was one of our first drivers when we joined GPV. So we go a little way back. Let's bring him in and have a chat with him, see what he thought of tonight's race. Hello, Wopke.
Hello, Lee.
Hey. How you doing, mate?
Well, it could be better, but it's all right.
Right, so let's start with qualifying. That was a really neat qualifying session you put together there. Was that a career best for Super League?
I believe so. Yeah, maybe I've started higher up, but that was probably due to some back of the grid before, and
Yeah.
this time I really did it on my own. So I was really happy with the lap I put together.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah, actually, the lap after I went 1.5 tenths quicker, and then I screwed up. So
you did a FIDUC. No.
I was unlucky. I could have been P4, but yeah, P8 is still great. And
Absolutely. So starting that far up, did you feel a little bit more pressure than perhaps you're used to, would you say, or just took it in your stride? It's what you're here to do.
No, I just thought I'd relax and sit back and try to keep up with the guys in front. Of course, a lot of people have the Valiant engine with the fuel upgrade. I was just talking about it with Jeff and Dennis. And yeah, I really noticed that everyone was pulling away on the straight because I had to use lower mixture settings and boost settings to make sure that I could make it to the end. So yeah, I was trying to stay in the DRS, which worked for a few laps, but after that I dropped back. I started to lose a lot of time to everyone in front, but yeah, still P9 was okay. But then suddenly the rear dropped out, and
yeah, was that the tires just had enough? Basically, was it one lap too far on the stint?
To be fair, like if I looked at the percentages, for me it should have been okay, but I guess I just was a little bit off the line and put a bit too much throttle, and then yeah, the back just went and totally caught me by surprise. And then after that, like the rear tires, they were ruined, so I spun again and trying to get back to the pit. So I had to actually shorten my stint by like 2 laps.
Oh, okay.
Which cost me in the second stint as well, because I tried to make up for it there, but didn't quite work out.
Much like David, a tough start to the season so far for Zurich as a whole, really. After last year, where you had a few bright spots in what was kind of a okayish season for your first year, I think it's fair to say. 3 races down, what are you hoping to achieve in the next 3 races as such? Points obviously have to be the target.
Well, yeah, I've been so close already, and especially now I can see that I've picked up the pace, and with the upgrades that are coming up, should be able to yeah, get some more pace out of the car, especially in the race. So I'm really looking forward to that, and yeah, we'll see what happens. I hope to get maybe a top 10 out of it, but it's all so close yet. Like, you really need to have a perfect race, and any mistakes can cost you so much. I mean, yeah, just once you get back behind a few of the slower guys, and when I say slower, it's only just a matter of a few tenths a lap, and yeah, you lose so much time already, and it's yeah, really hard.
Ben, it's fair to say Wopke's one of your direct rivals, you'd say.
Ouch.
Wait.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
That was a compliment.
It has been sort of a, from last year as well. We were kind of rivals, with the sort of whole relegation thing that turns out nobody got relegated because they had a new series. But yeah, it's. I think everybody's a rival these days. Sort of that midfield scrap could be sort of 8 to 10 sort of teams. But yeah, it's as Wupke said, with the pace between each driver and each team, it's very close. So you make a mistake and you miss out. Like Wupke did today. We sort of had what was 9th in the grid, and then sort of nearly got caught at the end. Lost out on the points. What happened on the last lap actually? Because we saw you sort of go off with Paolini, and we had a little scrap on the last corner. What happened there? Because we didn't see anything.
Okay, I was trying to push Geyer actually for the final point, because Kilk dropped out with an engine failure, right?
Yeah. Rub it in, Lee.
Yes.
That's to say it.
That Valiant engine.
Yeah. So at least they're bad at something. Well, Yeah, so I was trying to push Flo for the final point, and I actually thought I had the pace on him, but I didn't really know what he was doing. He was just doing enough to stay ahead the whole time, and then in the final lap, I just pushed a bit too hard, went off at the second to last corner, tried to get back on track ahead of my teammate, and Ben Hamlet then decided to lunge it down the inside of my teammate. So he made it stick, and yeah, not the greatest final lap for the team, I guess.
Yeah, that final lap lunge was my fault. I said, look, if you're within 3 car lengths, dive it down the inside. You might get Whoopke on the exit as well. So yeah, we were pushing, we were pushing forward. Last lap, last corner for pride more than anything. He was chasing down Dino for a couple of laps and was really quick on those last set of tires. So yeah, that was my fault. I was going to take full responsibility if there was contact, but yeah, luckily Dino saw him coming and the move stuck.
Yeah, it was a good scrap actually, and Ben was quick and Flo as well. Scrap with Flo as well. I really enjoyed that, and I always seem to end up with him somehow, even if I start way ahead and drop back.
Yeah, it is something we've noticed actually from the last couple of races, and some races last year. It was like, oh, who's ahead of me? It's Whoopke. Oh, okay, right, again. Yeah, it's Whoopke. Just always seem to be chasing the same sort of drivers. It's the same with me actually. It's the same in Super League Lights. I've been chasing the same driver for 3 races now, so he's always been there on my little timing screen. So yeah.
So are you still enjoying your racing, Whoopke? You did really well in the junior series. You're always up at the sharp end, and obviously you haven't really had that opportunity so far in Super League, but still enjoying it.
Yeah, of course it's a bit demotivating when you decide the points all the time, but yeah, we keep trying, and every time I try to find something new, and I just have a go with it, and if it doesn't work out, I have nothing to lose because I know I'll be outside the points anyway. So I'm just trying some things with the setup. Maybe one time I'll get it right and we can work from there. And today, actually, I think I found some things that work and some things that didn't work. So we'll see how I can take that, or maybe we as the team can take that into Baku.
Good, excellent. All right, Whoopke, well, cheers for stopping by, mate. Pleasure talking to you. I hadn't talked to you for a couple of years now, I think, mate. we'll have to catch up one day.
Yeah, hopefully next time I will have some points.
Yeah, too right. All right, mate. All the best.
Right, thank you.
Cheers, mate. Cool. So yeah, I mean, you guys, as you were saying, you guys have been fine with Whoopke for the start of this season so far. He's an old hand at GPV. He's been around for years, hasn't he?
Yeah. I can remember when I first started in too long ago since I want to tell you. 2012 or so, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's been around. He is a good guy. On the forums and and chatting to people, and he always helps out, especially like the newer guys as well. And he's come through the full career ladder himself. So yeah, it is nice to see him up there. I was really pleased actually to see him seeing up in ninth. It's
yeah, it was a feel good story, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think we're going to see quite a lot of those throughout the season. Maybe smaller teams sort of grabbing some sort of surprise results and things, but. Yeah, hopefully not at Street Fighter's expense, if I'm completely honest.
Right then, so we're going to bring 2 people in next. I think we'll bring in the Evo guys. They've been waiting for a little while now, so let's bring them in and have a chat about them. And this is going to be a laugh because one of them's Tom Parker, so we'll see how it goes. But let's bring in Tom Parker and Dennis Jordan. See how they feel about today's race.
Just didn't. Oh. Hi.
Oh, hey!
Secrets, but...
Of all the people, of all the people I wasn't expecting to not be ready, it was not going to be Dennis Jordan. Excellent, Dennis, Tom, welcome to the Overcut. How are you guys doing?
Fine.
I'm always fine. I'm with Dennis. I'm brilliant.
Good. So an exciting race for you tonight, Dennis. Action right at the very start in turn 1. Talk us through what happened.
What happened? I didn't see it.
From your point of view.
I actually don't know what happened. I was upside down. So
I was going to need a car.
Yeah, it was a good view up there, but yeah, it wasn't ideal for the positions. But yeah, it was a good fun
Yeah,
race.
I bet. Did you have much damage after that?
Well, Rfactor showed a lot of damage, but I don't think the car was down on anything.
It just made the car more slippery in the straight. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Good. And then obviously you fought your way all the way back up to eventually P8, I think it was, wasn't it? Some lovely battles along the way. Did you have any particular highlights from the race that you remember?
No. I don't know. Like the thing, the thing was, like I was always behind the DRS train, so my only goal was to get those people out of the train, that were ahead of me.
Yeah.
Then they basically were just letting me by on the straight, so it wasn't that much, like close fighting. So, but yeah, there were a good few battles, especially in the end with errors. I don't know, like we touched a bit there. I don't know if it was his
I
fault or
remember,
my fault.
yeah, that was a turn 1 again, wasn't it? That was a heck of a fight.
I mean, I kind of thought that, when I went besides him, that he moved again, but I don't think he really did. So, just was good that it stayed as it was.
Tom, you were in the commentary box. Do you remember any highlights from Dennis's race?
Just being gorgeous. You got fastest lap.
Yeah,
so
that was the only goal.
That's something. Yeah, I think you got. When I was checking, I think it was on when, like I said, we were behind Eros in the last couple of laps when you had DRS. But no, I think you had a lot of it was strategy, wasn't it? Really, Dennis. Obviously, me and Dennis spoke before about the strategy, so obviously I could say about it on the commentary. And yeah, it was pretty much bang on, wasn't it? 16, 15 people were starting to come in, and I was surprised you were going to be ultra soft on the end. To be fair, I didn't think you were going to do ultra super ultra. I thought you were going to do ultra super super. Nice surprise though, and it did give us a bit of a spicy end. But Yannick couldn't quite do it. But yeah, it was fun to watch. Actually, me and Jake and Mitch said afterwards it was one of the better ones to commentate on. So it was fun, and quite frankly, I feel like Evolution. Well, I'm loving it, so I'm not bothered.
Was that a decision during the race then, Dennis, to go into ultras?
No, that was a plan all the way. I don't know, like on this track, I think you can use the super soft too, because there's not that much difference between the tires. But I don't know, like if you can make the ultra work, just take the ultra for fastest lap.
I think Petter proved, didn't he? Really, Petter was like the same pace as Yannick in the final stint, so wasn't really. I think I'm finding that a lot this year. To be fair, from what I've seen and what I've done in my testing, like the compounds are a lot closer than they were last year. Like sometimes last year you could have like 3 or 4 attempts a lap between compounds. This year it's like 1 or 2. So I mean, it's not very track dependent, obviously, but I do think they're a lot sturdier and closer this year.
Go on, Ben. You gonna say that?
Oh, sorry, I was just turning on my my overcut light for light up my desktop a little bit. Tom, when are we seeing you in a car? Any car, for that matter of fact.
So funnily, what? Okay, right. So we've discussing this, right? Dennis used my qualifying setup, so that's why it was rubbish. But I don't know yet. Obviously, work. I got promoted. I got promotion at work in November, so I became a manager, and I didn't have any time. It's why I'm only test driving for this year with Dennis. Dennis obviously knows I couldn't make every single one, and Dennis is happy with that. I hope. But funnily enough, circumstances are changing in my work life in the very near future. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll have a bit more free time. I do plan on doing the commentary and tests for the rest of the year for Super League, obviously, if they'll have me. I was saying to Dennis, funny enough, actually, I wouldn't mind doing Super League Lights. I think I could do quite well in there, maybe.
I was just about to ask you about that. Super League Lights has been incredible, and you'll be joining me on the grid, so we can have some. Come back and do Monza. We can relive some battles we've had at Monza in the past.
No, because that
quite a few.
that pissed me off that day. I wasn't. Yeah, I think if I was to, I would want to do Super League Lights. That probably would be my preference. But I mean, a lot of it depends on what's going on with work. I mean, nothing is set in stone. Nothing will be set in stone for a couple of weeks at least. So probably after summer, I will definitely be driving. But what and where, I wouldn't be able to say.
Watch this space then, Ben.
Yeah, so something to look forward to, that, isn't it? Yeah. Very interesting.
So, Dennis, Yannick must be pretty annoyed with second.
Yeah, we just talked about it. I don't know. I think he's off for a week now.
Yeah, how are you going to pick him up from this? I mean, it's terrible.
Well, the good thing with Yannick is you just give him a lot of alcohol and he's going to be fine. So that's an easy one.
Just don't break his wrist again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've done it now, Tom.
Yeah, we've also decided Dennis isn't doing Monaco, so I'm going to do it instead. But I then reminded him that I've got back of the grid, so.
Yeah, use that Monaco. Give the rest of us a chance. That's good. Good idea. Good. So you guys have a commanding lead in the titles. What can you say? I mean, what is this? What you expected at the start of the season?
I don't know. I mean, we knew that we would be up there, so yeah.
There wasn't.
I think,
there wasn't any discussion, was there, when we were talking about it, that we would be winning it?
I mean, you've got nearly double the points on second place.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think you saw today Peter winning for Edge, and so far, I think in 2 races they haven't really scored anything for different reasons. And I think if they're gonna keep going like this, then they're gonna fight us the whole year. The same with ACR. Alex anyway has been up there. I think David has been a bit unlucky today. He had great pace. And yeah, I don't think I need to say much about the Red Archers. They look pretty strong. So
yeah,
I
surprise
think
package
it's closer than the standings say, really.
I disagree with you, but okay.
No, I'd agree. I do think it is tighter than it looks. I think Yannick's just obviously been driving the absolute balls off the car, and Dennis has been driving obviously a bit of a tough one today, but obviously made his way come back. Petter was unreal today. I don't know. I was saying in the commentary, like I thought he was going to go longer, but I don't know what happened to him today, but he was just so quick. I was going to believe it. It was like the final stint. We were all expecting in the commentary, yeah, Yannick's just going to come up to him and just blitz him. No, the gap stayed the same the entire time. So I think Yannick, Dennis, and Kerr are going to really struggle with Petter. Obviously, Alex, I think he's still figuring the car out a little bit. I think once he gets there, he'll be blinding. Firelock, obviously, he's having a bit of a tough start.
Mm-hmm.
Very funny enough, we were saying something, Dennis. He's very un-Firelock-like this year, I'm finding. Lovely bloke. I think he'd admit he's not the fastest person in the world in terms of pure pace, but he's very consistent, and we're not quite seeing that at the moment this year, I feel.
Yeah, 2 spins in the first race was a big surprise, wasn't it? Normally, if you're going to put your house on somebody.
Yeah, precisely. I think that's more spins than he's had in his career in Super League. So, I mean, I can only remember him once of him spinning in the last 4 years, and that was last year. No, funny enough, no, it wasn't. It was Silverstone when it rained, and it was on the wrong tyres, so what are you going to expect? So, I think once he figures it out, Alex figure out, ACR will be up there. Like I said, Petter and Edge there, ones to watch. Red Archer really surprising me, like really, really surprising me this year. It's really nice to see as well.
Yeah,
Nicholas is a lovely guy. So
definitely, yeah,
really good.
Tom, you're the most experienced Super League driver around, I believe.
One of. Yeah. One of the active wise, yeah, I am.
Yeah. Is this the best grid that Super League's managed to bring racing ever, would you say?
Potentially. I would say Rfactor 2 era, yes. But yeah, I would, to be fair. I mean, like, obviously, in terms of the absolute limit, maybe no, because of Rudy. Rudy was one of a kind. I don't think he'll ever get as good as Alex and Yannick and Co are. They're not Rudy. I think everyone will admit that. But in terms of pure competitiveness, yes, I would say. I mean, last year, Alex was a little bit out there, quite far ahead. Risto was there or thereabouts. Dennis was there or thereabouts. But and obviously the Edge boys as well. But this year, the active standard is so high. Like someone like Florian, for example, Florian Guy, a couple of years ago, he was winning races. He was second. He was third. Now he's struggling to get points. I think that just shows where we are in the league at the moment. David Fido, 2-time champion, struggling to get into the top 10. I mean,
yeah.
Would you, if we were doing this show 4 years ago, when 3 years ago when he just won his second title, would you have said he'd been never being in the top 10? You'd get slapped, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So, I think in terms of pure quality, extremely no. But in terms of competitiveness, yes.
Good. Finally, Dennis, would you really take fastest lap over P4?
Well, what's the other position? If I don't get fastest lap, well, if I take the fastest lap, what position do I get?
Not P4.
Hey.
If it's P3,
P2.
God damn it. Like P8, yeah. P8, P9, P10.
I guess you always want to always want to get the fastest lap, obviously. So
Do you think they should start offering a point for fastest lap?
Well, it's already quite a lot of money for the team, so I think it's nearly as much as the win. So
Fair enough.
Not too bad getting it.
Good stuff. Excellent. Anything else, Ben? You happy, mate?
I think we covered it. I was going to ask Tom. I was going to ask Tom how he felt about the grid being so competitive this year, and yeah, he covered it.
Fines, I'm sorry. Right, guys, good talking to you again. Well done on the race as well, Dennis. That was a lovely job through the field.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. Right then, good. So let's have a quick look at the championship standings now. We'll have a quick little break from the interviews and then we'll resume shortly. So just looking at the driver standings first of all, it's still Yannick Bock, of course, who's right up there in first place. He's on 70 points from it's 75 points that's been available so far, isn't it? So
yeah, out of the percentage, he's done quite well, hasn't he? To be fair,
not too shabby. But like I said, I bet he's disappointed with second. Alex Siebel is still second. I'm kind of half surprised that Siebel's actually in second. I was actually expecting Dennis to still be in second, but nope. Siebel's ahead by 8 points over Dennis Jordan in third. Fabio Sixto, of course, he's in fourth with 3 fourth positions so far this season. And then look at that, in fifth place, Petter Burlak. That win has catapulted him up the standings, and all of a sudden he's in with a shout of the top 3.
Despite missing the first race, he's right up there.
Yeah, exactly. Jeff Fournier in 6th and Stefan Raut in 7th place. I think that's going to be a season-long battle between Fournier and Raut. They always seem to be really close on the track.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one because they've always been quite close. So yeah, give it a couple of races, see if they break apart or if they sort of mangle together.
And they both like a good overtake as well. So yeah, I mean, we raced against them in Super Cup as well, I think it was, and yeah, same sort of thing. Fun times ahead. Good. On to the Constructors' Championship. Evolution, like I said, nearly double the points of their nearest rival. They're on 114 points with ACI in second on 62. That's already a mammoth gap that needs to be closed up.
It is, yeah. But it's not unfeasible for it to be closed up. Long season ahead. I think that's what a lot of people lower down will be telling themselves as well. Is a long. But yeah, we'll see how it all goes. I'm really excited actually because there's nobody that I can. After the first 3 races, nobody that I can pick out and say, okay, well, this is going to be a season to forget for them, or this is going to be a season to remember for them. It's certainly a lot more competitive than I expected it to be when we did our predictions.
Yes, yeah, that's a fair shout. And ACR perhaps have one eye looking over their shoulder right now because Red Arch is only 2 points behind them, and it's a tale of 2 rows with ACR and Red Archer. So ACR are getting the big points with Siebel, but only the one car usually getting big points. Whilst Red Archer perhaps a little bit further back, maybe the bottom of the top 10, but it's both cars that makes sense.
That has to be the feel good story for the season, doesn't it? Red Archer, they've been sort of a little lower down in the last couple of years, and to come straight back up, brand new lineup. We sort of were a bit suspicious of it. Obviously, we knew the drivers were quick, but were we really expecting them to be this quick? And like I said, 2 points off ACR. That's, if we'd have said that in our prediction, we probably would have got a lot of heat for it.
Yes. Good going, isn't it? Edge Esports are making up ground rapidly. They're up to 4th on 38 points. So ACR and Red Archer, again, they might also be looking at Edge thinking, ooh, we might have a race or 2 before they're on our tails. Scuderia Basileia is still top of the new teams by quite a long margin. They're in 5th place on 37 points. Flag to flag, they've got up to 6th for probably a lot of thanks towards Sergi Harris's performance today. They're up to 29 points, 1 point ahead of Epic. If Wright's engine didn't blow, we would have been up towards Scuderia's sort of points tally, but never mind. We'll have to just take it as it comes. I haven't actually brought up the full standings for the constructors, but we'll keep it there. Apart from Red Archer, not really many other big surprises, really, is there?
No, the only the only real surprise at this stage is maybe Adonis. What I predicted them to be. I predicted them to be where Red Archer were. I thought basically if you swapped Red Archer and Adonis, that's pretty much how I expected the table to be in this early stage. But we've got a lot of races coming up, and a lot of races that tend to bring good races as well. Azerbaijan, it's going to be an interesting race, sort of really fast street circuit. Really looking forward to seeing how that sort of shakes up the standings, because it's we saw last year there's quite a lot of overtakes, quite a lot of sort of crashes and things at Baku as well. And I know there's a lot of issues with technical issues with Bahrain that sort of hampered a lot of drivers. So hopefully we'll see the back of those and get sort of, you know, we haven't mentioned it for this episode, but there were quite a lot of issues with people sort of having screen freezes and stuff. So we had to change the time of day and things, and maybe that hampered certain drivers in the race today. So hopefully we get everything all straight out for Baku, and we can see where people are going from there and see where that shapes up.
And Baku represents a quarter of the way through the season. Where's that gone?
Yeah, that's that went quick, didn't it? I can remember felt like it's just last week we were doing the pre-episode for testing. We were criticising teams and talking about different things.
That was the mammoth episode, wasn't it? Like 2.5 hours long. My God, yeah.
Yeah, and then we were both ill, and we wondered why. So,
Good. Right, worth just quickly reminding, this show is also available on Downforce Radio as a podcast, so you can download it, take it with you wherever you want. You can listen to our sultry tones, wherever you're doing, I guess. Bus stop, toilet, bed.
Train, bus, car, plane.
Train.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wherever you are in the world at that time.
Yeah. Good. Right. So let's bring in some more interesting people. I was going to bring in your guys next.
Okay.
Because you got Florian Guy waiting for a chat, and you've also got Jan Polak, who I believe works for you guys, doesn't
he? He does. Yeah. He's our chief engineer.
Chief engineer.
Chief engineer.
There we go. Let's bring them in then and see what they have to say, and you can make sure they don't say anything naughty.
It's all right. It's after 9 o'clock. They're fine. They can say what they want at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Jan and Florian. Hey guys.
Hi.
Jan needs to unmute. Yeah. There we go. Hi Jan. How you doing, mate?
Hello.
Hey. Right, guys. So you're off the board. Got 15th position there. 1 point to your name now. Happy times. Pressing on ahead now.
Yeah, it's a bit frustrating actually, because pace was really good in testing, and yeah, so 15th is not really what I wanted today.
When we spoke to you after Sepang, you were quite downbeat, it's fair to say. You must be a little bit happier at least that you were competitive, you got at the point at the end, and you as you said, you showed good pace anyway. You've got what it seems like a good understanding of the car now. Would you say you've taken one step forward in this race?
Yeah, a little step forward it is, obviously. I think I made a slight error in the setup in practice, and I changed something, and this made it all pretty much worse than, or yeah, it didn't really improve the way I hoped. And yeah, so in the end I didn't get a clean lap, and it's down in P25 instead of P5. So it makes quite a big difference.
Yeah. And Jan, from your point of view, do you reckon you got the most out of the strategy today? I think you guys were the only ones to do 3 stops, but I think that was that made because of the drive-through? Did you say, Ben?
Yeah, we had a drive-through. Yeah, for Ben.
Yeah. So Florian also did a 3 stop though, didn't he?
Yeah, we did a 3 stop on both cars.
Mm.
I honestly think we could have done better job with less stops, but we did what we did. It got us a point, so I guess it was good enough.
So where do you go from here then? I mean, if you think 2 stops was the better strategy, is that something that you need now to review and figure out why did we go for 3 stops then? What convinced us that was going to be the better idea?
It was, I don't know really. I guess we didn't practice on the hard tires enough. We need to just try out more things. Now we have enough people for it because we got some new people this season. A lot of new people actually.
Okay.
We have a lot of people to do practice and setups. We just haven't really got everything out of it so far, and it's that much more frustrating.
And so I guess that's an additional challenge for you, Ben, as manager, is kind of making sure everyone knows their role, how to implement certain plans, and make sure everyone's doing their job correctly.
Yeah, it's a lot of juggling. It is a lot of juggling. It leads to a lot of late nights. I have a lot of late nights with Street Fighter. It's actually helpful because some of our drivers sort of across the pond kind of thing. Like one of our engineers is Australian, so as most Europeans are going to bed, he's crunching data and putting information into our Discord channel. So it's like, right, okay, well, I'm up, so I might as well go and test this. Let's go and have a look. But yeah, we've had a lot of changes through the off season. We're still, I think, yet to really sort of get the most out of everybody and sort of gel completely with a lot of new people coming in. This race, obviously, our second drive was always going to be a little bit disruptive because we had a change at the 11th hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, we came in with the sort of the strategies and things. We sort of had to change it on the fly. We obviously had a strategy laid out, but we weren't expecting to qualify sort of 25th and 11th, I think it was in the end. We're expecting to be a little sort of higher. We weren't expecting so much chaos on the first lap, so we had to kind of adapt it on the fly and see where we sort of found ourselves. Ben did a really good job, but we discovered sort of halfway through a stint that we'd sort of killed our tyres trying to get our positions back. So sort of stopping a couple of laps early, which left us later. So it's right. Okay, do you want to go really long on the softs, or do you want to pit for the super softs and then go for a 10-lap blast on the ultras, which probably worked out better for us because it meant we were in a better position with Flo to defend from Whoopkey, and Ben had fun chasing down Dino Paolini and things for the end, and would have had fastest lap if it wasn't for Dennis. So yeah, he really chased that one. But yeah, it's although we sort of made maybe an error was set up, we'll have to properly analyze it. But then again, we were closer than we were to Pole and Sepang, so and we were a lot closer than we were in Australia. So we're obviously moving forward. It's maybe not at the rate that we want, but yeah, we got to keep moving forward. We're
heading in the right direction at least.
Yeah, we know which way we're pointing, and we know what we're looking at now more than ever. So we just need the results on track. I think we need a lap one where Flo doesn't get damage would be really nice. I think it's like going from sort of last season, like 6 races on a bounce when Flo's had damage the first corner of the first lap. So yeah, Flo's gotten quite used to driving a damaged car at this point. I think it's qualifying.
As long as he doesn't say it handles better than the normal car, then that's not a
problem. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe we're so used to driving with a damaged car. Come qualifying with the car pristine, we can't get the best out of it. But no, we keep going. I'm not gonna give up on it. My drivers aren't gonna give up on it. The team aren't gonna give up on it. So we got a point, and we know there was more on the table. So going into Baku, we know there was some issues with the setup. We got absolutely owned on some areas of the setups, but we know exactly what we need to change to get that point now. So yeah, we're Baku. I'm going to be looking forward to.
Flo, Ben already touched on it. You've had a new teammate come in Ben Hamlet. From your point of view, that kind of change, is it disruptive to your own preparations, or is it just something you just ignore? A teammate's a teammate, we'll just get through it, sort of thing, or does it have a small effect on you?
No, not on my race. I'm obviously trying to give as much info as I can to Ben in that case, and just try to get him up to speed. And I think he showed pretty decent today. So yeah, it's nothing really that matters to me much. I'm just trying to get the team forward and help everyone. So I don't care if I get a teammate 5 minutes before the race, a new one.
And yeah, and just furthering up Ben's comment about you've got new staff members, they're dotted all around the world. That must take quite a bit of figuring out from your point of view, as well as kind of like orchestrating an engineering program, a testing program, how to get everyone on around the same sort of time so you can crunch the data together and stuff like that. That must be a challenge in itself.
Yeah, it is, of course. Thankfully, basically all the drivers are in the same time zone, so they test together a lot of the times. It's mostly just the engineers that are on different times, and data analyzing can be done at any time.
Yeah.
So the time zone issue doesn't actually affect it that much. I would say one of the issues, back to the new teammate question, the bigger issue with it was that the previous guy, or the Adam Maguire, was supposed to drive for us.
Yeah.
And he has some sort of health issues.
Yep.
And he basically wasn't online at all for more than a week, and only was able to tell us that there was some kind of an issue at midnight before the race.
Not ideal.
We were missing data from one driver for basically the whole 2 weeks. So that's what it affected more.
Interesting. Yeah, so you've already got that potential for double the amount of data. You can really get on top of any setup issues you may have stemming from Bahrain. Because I suppose Baku's a kind of similar sort of approach, really. Very long straight, so you need that you need that straight line speed, but a couple of slower turns as well. So it's a bit of a balancing act.
We are looking pretty good for Baku, I would say. It will suit the driving style of both of the drivers pretty good, and most importantly, we managed to save up engines, so we will be going with perfectly fresh engines for Baku.
I'm going to give Rihanna a pay rise for Rob. To you there, Lee, about the engine.
I was waiting for some kind of comment. As soon as I said you need like good straight line speed, I was like, yeah, that's a power circuit.
you just kind of gave us that one.
Just like we gave you your point tonight.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. We thank you very much for that one.
Right, guys, good speaking to you again, and congratulations on your first point. And I'm sure there's plenty more coming along.
Thank you.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Cool. Right. So, yeah. Congratulations, I must say, Ben. I know I'm trying not to sound sarcastic or anything like that, but no, I am pleased that you guys are off the mark now. So more on the horizon, hopefully.
Yeah, like I say, we're looking forward to races. Races coming in the future. Baku was obviously the first one we're going to be super looking forward to. We did really well at Baku last year, despite struggling more than we are now. So we're quite optimistic. And I think Australia, we were a second off pole. Sepang, we were half a second off pole. Here, we were 0.3 off pole.
Yeah. Keep that up, and you're world champions.
Yeah. 2020 looking good to this point. But yeah, it is something that's frustrating. Obviously, everybody knows the talent that Flo has, and there is I wouldn't say pressure on me to give him a good car, but there's pressure from sort of the outside to sort of give Flo a car that he can show, he's capable of what he's capable of.
Cool.
It's quite frustrating in that sense, but yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah. Good, right. So we've got 2 more interviewees. We'll finish off with these 2. We'll do them one at a time, and then we'll call it a night. So we'll quickly bring in one of my peddlers now for Epic, Jeffrey Fournier. We'll bring him in. He put some tasty overtaking moves on again, as we come to expect from him. Let's have a quick chat. Hey, Jeff.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, mate?
Fine. Well, was falling asleep, but
I was going to say thank you for hanging around. You were one of the first ones in the waiting room, so thank you for hanging around at this time of day. Fun race for you after perhaps a slightly tricky qualifying. Story of the season, really, I suppose, isn't it? Your race pace seems solid. Qualifying pace, there or thereabouts, you'd say.
yeah. Well, was the last 2 stints were pretty tough on super soft because I shortened my first stint. I didn't do the planned strategy, and yeah, all the rest of the race was about saving tires and praying for keeping my tires. But well, the last 2 or 3 laps were very hard, and I lost a lot of play.
Yeah. But I tell you what, that first stint, some of those overtaking maneuvers, they were astonishing. I was shouting in the YouTube chat every time you were doing it. What goes through your mind when you're in that slipstream and you think, right, I'm going to have you? What are you thinking?
I close the eyes and wait for it to walk.
Is it please don't turn in on me? Please don't move under braking. Is it one of those?
Well, yeah, kind of. Well, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, but well, we try our best.
That's it. That's all I ask of you guys. That pass into turn 4 when you got 2 cars in one go as well. That was a particular highlight for me, at least. Any particular highlights from your race that you want to talk about?
Not really. Well, was quite a hard second stint fighting on my own to try to cover the gap to the DRS train, but
yeah.
Well, then big up to Sergio Ras actually for today. Fantastic pace he had.
He did really well.
I tried to work with him for second stint, but he was so quick I couldn't even follow him. So, well, that's a shame. But yeah, he did finish P5, and so yeah, he had a fantastic pace. Well done to him, and yeah, well, the races are very close, the quali are very close, so we will need to walk and find those last few tenths.
Quite like in Sepang, the DRS was quite strong again here, wasn't it? Is it perhaps a little too strong, would you say?
Well, the DRS effect is not quite efficient, but the slipstream effect is too powerful in my opinion. We noticed it in the early stage of the preseason, but yeah. Would be interesting actually to see on Baku and tracks like Monza or Spa. I don't know. We'll see.
And a quick word on Wright today. Your teammate right up there in P6, engine blows with 3 laps to go. It's quite a gutted sort of a feeling, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Well, not only at the pace since the start of season, but yeah, it doesn't translate into good result for now. I'm sure it will come very soon, and maybe not only top 5 or 6, but maybe podium. That's what I hope at least. And yeah, and those points would have been, looking at the team standing, it would have been very, very important points for us today.
It would, yes.
But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, exactly that. Yeah, it was a missed opportunity, but it was just one of those things. It happens. Everyone's going to have an engine failure at some point. I'm absolutely sure. It just so happens ours was in a position where we were going to get some good points. Ben.
Yes.
From your point of view, because I can't talk without being biased, obviously. Are we fulfilling expectations so far?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, obviously the standings are slightly skewed. If you'd have taken the points that Wright had right there, the standings would have looked a lot better. But I think even when we go back from last year, I know last year you had the win early on, but the results sort of peaked around the European races, the Spain's, the Monzas, so I kind of expected a similar sort of story this season, and maybe pick up the pace later on, taking advantage of some very clever upgrade strategies that you sort of had last year. I expected sort of Epic to come strong after the summer break, when sort of some people maybe stop upgrading and things like that, and maybe sort of you can go for a bigger push.
Yeah.
But that's what I was expecting Epic to get the majority of their points, like we saw last season. So the fact that you're picking up consistent strong points, like early doors, is always going to be helpful. I mean, Fournier hasn't been out of the top 10 yet, so
that's
you know, there you go. There's a good start for you, Jeff. You got that one.
Well, and,
So-
and I think it's very important to pick up those points today rather than later, because I think teams like Hedonis, Madcape, and even Hawkeye, they would step up their game as the season progresses. And so yeah, every point taken today is very important. Because
yeah, absolutely.
we still don't have a complete look of how the, let's say, the standings, the prediction is. I guess some teams like Hawkeye or Adonis and Madcape will step up their game.
Yeah.
And we shall see them fighting for consistent top 8 very soon. So yeah.
And are you happy with your performances so far, Jeffrey?
Sorry?
Are you happy with your performance so far?
Well, happy no, because you always wish to do better, but we are where I expected to be honest.
Yeah.
High midfield.
Yeah.
Close to top 5. So yeah, well, that's good. But if we can do better, I won't diffuse.
It's no secret we're quite close to the Red Archer guys. You're pleased to see that they're doing so well so far?
Yeah, well, definitely. Also showing the good works we are doing, because I think without right engine issue, we would have had the 4 car in top 11 again.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same for Malaysia. So
yeah.
Well, showing we can have the 4 car into top 10. It's encouraging and showing we are doing a lot of good work in the background. So let's hope it will continue. And good luck to them. But I hope to beat them, of course.
Yeah, that's the right answer, Jeff. Well done. Good, excellent. Right, thank you for staying up for a while there, mate. Appreciate that. And good job again tonight. I'm a very happy team boss with your performance, so you have nothing to worry about there, mate.
Thanks to you. Thanks, Ben.
Cheers, mate. We'll see you again.
Take care. Good. I was very happy with Jeff's performance in the race and the season so far. His racecraft is just incredible. And I think, was it Tom that mentioned, or was it Michi? I think Michi was it who mentioned that last year Jeff seemed to be really good in qualifying format and then tail off a bit in the race.
Yeah.
I think he's addressed that.
I would say so. He's very quickly becoming the Danny Rick of GPV, isn't he? With these late moves and just sort of the racecraft, maybe sort of instead of thinking, one quarter ahead, thinking 2 or 3 to sort of set them up. But yeah, he's obviously doing something right. I'm excited to see that yellow car belting down the inside of some more people in Baku, because I think that straight leading into that corner, that first corner, that's going to be interesting. I think you're going to see a lot of moves there. But I might have to have a highlight video just of Jeff's overtakes for that one.
Yeah,
could end up being the half-hour long, but it'd be a highlight video.
They'll rename the first corner Fournier turn at this rate. Good.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah, right. So let's bring in our last interview of the show, and then we'll wrap everything up. And it's another team manager, Ben. It's one of us.
Hey!
Yeah, let's bring in Cameron Roger. He manages Flag to Flag. Really good performance by the team today, so I'm sure he's a very happy chap. Let's bring him in and see what he has to say. Hi there, Cameron.
All right.
Hey, how you doing, mate?
I'm not doing too bad. Not doing too bad. Let me just mute the live stream. There you go. Yeah, not doing too bad. Quite good race today. I'm pretty happy with that.
I bet you are. Yeah, I mean, you've matched your best result in Super League, so congratulations.
Yeah, Sergi's pace today was really good. Shame where he started, but if you look at the qualifying times, it's stupidly close. I mean, like P20 was 6/10 off or something. So,
Yep.
yeah, it was really close, and we just need to gain a few more tenths there. But yeah, once we actually got into the race, Sergi's pace was really good, and he kept his tires perfect for the strategy that we wanted to do. And yeah, I was pretty happy with that. And even Michael as well. He again didn't have a good qualifying at all. I think it's like P23 or something, and he still managed to
yes, he was.
Yeah, and he still managed to get some decent points because, I mean, it's only P11, but if we can get some double points finishes the whole season, then that'll do quite well for the championship.
Absolutely. So it seems like your drivers have settled in nicely to the mod now, and Sergio in particular is really getting to grips with GPVWC racing. You must be impressed with his performances up to now.
Yeah, so especially Sergio. Yeah, he just got on with it this race and got on pace. Pretty happy with that. I mean, Michael still needs to find a little bit here and there, but I'm sure that will come. As he did last season, he improved as the season went on, and he's still getting points. He was quite unlucky to DNF last time out anyway, so he's definitely able to get points every race, and that is a big step from last year anyway.
Would you say so far at least you've exceeded expectations, or about bang on? How do you feel?
Now this is probably about it. I was expecting to be about 10th place with both cars every race. So given the DNF last time and the 5th place today sort of evens itself out, and yeah, I think this is about it. I think it's going to be quite difficult to get podiums and race wins this season because, you know, Edge, ACR, Evo, I mean, that's 6 cars already that we're unlikely to beat on a standard day.
Yep.
So I think that's going to be difficult. So if we can get into the top 10, then I'll be very happy. And the guys are working quite hard, and they're enjoying the car, and it's quite good to see that. After struggling a bit last season, although we had a couple of good results, it wasn't the easiest season. But now we're already, I mean, it's only been 3 races, and we already have a third of the points we did last year. So if we keep going on, then we should have more points than last year, which is a good improvement.
Good. So if I remember correctly, we spoke at GPVWC Day, and we kind of had a similar setup in terms of pure number of people working in the team.
Yeah.
Did you have much addition over the off season? Have you made many changes within the team structure?
I mean, if anything, there's less.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so basically you got myself, and then we got Mark as well, who is sort of overseeing the whole upgrade side of things and what we're doing with the R&D. And then we have Sergi and Michael, and then I engineer Sergi, and Michael has an engineer as well, and that's about it. I mean, obviously we have David, our test driver as well. So yeah, so really only sort of 4, 5, 6 guys in total. Not a big operation, but I mean, we're here to hopefully eventually win in the years to come and get some good results. But we're mostly here to have some fun. You know, we like racing on a good level, on a nice high level of racing. I mean, we like the whole upgrade system. So it's yeah, we're mostly here for fun. It's good when we get good results. So we're not going to throw loads of people at it. We tried the whole big team thing in the previous years, and it always eventually doesn't really work out because there's, you know, so many people, so many opinions, and that sort of stuff. So,
I was going to say, there has its positives having a small team as well, doesn't it? Less things to juggle and everything like that. You tend to all be on the same wavelength. That's fine. So I'm kind of in the same boat.
Yeah, and it's also with just the nature of GPV. each team only has two drivers. So unless you have sort of like a sister team, you're not going to have any more drivers. It's not like in, for instance, VEC, we have two teams that have like 3 or 4 each. So naturally, we've got about 6, 7 drivers there anyway. Or like in FSR, we can have multiple teams, so you just naturally have more drivers. So here, it's a lot more focused, and you have to really get the best out of the package you have. And I think we're doing that right now. I mean, we're looking pretty good in the championship. Going to be a close fight with Epic, for instance.
I was going to get onto that eventually. So just quickly touching on your comment about sister teams, do you feel it's something that you guys particularly miss out on not having an associated team at all? Or is it just something, like you said, because of the nature of GPVWC, you're concentrating on your own stuff anyway, you can just get on with it?
I think a bit of both. I mean, when you're partnered or assisted in some ways with another team, obviously you just have more man hours of testing. So if there is something you need to test with setup, you can set 1 or 2 people off and then get another people to do that. And then there's a lot more people if you're doing test races and that sort of stuff. But I don't think we're necessarily missing out on it. I mean, obviously, if you were with a team such as like ACR, then naturally you'd have better setup because they've got a lot of knowledgeable people there. But luckily with this car, the setup isn't overly sensitive to lap time. Obviously, a bad setup's a bad setup and a good one's a good one, but it's not so critical. So, I mean, you know, even with sort of 2, 3 guys working on the setup for us, we're still managing to get good results. And sure, it would be beneficial, but it has to be mutually beneficial, because obviously if a team such as ACR or Edge went, hey, FTF, do you want to come and work with us, then of course we'd probably consider it. But if someone below us in the standings wanted our help, then does it actually gain anything for us? You know, you have to sort of consider.
That's the big question.
Yeah, you have to consider both sides. And for us, because it is such a close championship, we're just not working with anyone. But I mean, it's working out so far, so I'm not complaining.
Ben, both Flag to Flag and Epic, we're in our second season. I guess second season's arguably more difficult than the first sometimes, because you've suddenly got expectation now. You've got people looking at your team and thinking, well, they should be doing better, or oh, they're doing all right, yada yada. Did you find that with the second season at Street Fighter? Did you feel an added amount of pressure, perhaps?
Yeah, obviously it's well documented. 2018 for Street Fighter.
Aside from that,
there was a lot of pressure, not just because it's our sort of second year. I think that sort of didn't help because we had a very similar sort of lineup. We brought in a really good driver. We had some huge commercial deals as well, which added pressure. So but it is something people now will look at with Epic and Flag to Flag, because you're on that second season. You've got an expectation there. You've got some established drivers in the car, so their results are going to be compared. But I think as long as you sort of keep doing what you're doing, and you know, if you have a bad race, learn from it. Have a good race, enjoy it. You're gonna be able to keep your head above water. I think once you start caving to the pressure and sort of letting it get you down a bit, that's when you start seeing everything sort of go downhill very quickly. I think you've got to keep quite positive.
Absolutely, and Evolution are a second year team as well, isn't it? So it's easy to forget.
Yeah, exactly. That's slightly different because obviously we're mentioning sort of sister teams and things. They're coupled with a team that's been around GPV for a long time. They know the ins and outs. They've got a manager who knows all the ins and outs, all the rules and loopholes, and it's great for them that they've managed to get themselves into that position. There's obviously added pressure for them now because they are leading the championship and they've got a real chance of causing what I'd still consider an upset. If they go on and win it, I think it would still be considered an upset beating ACR and Edge. But it's at the end of the day, everybody's quite competitive, so there's going to be a fair amount of pressure on anybody if they ever drop the ball a little bit in the race.
Yeah, good. Okay, Cameron, let's quickly round up looking at the title, the championship standings, I should say. So as you mentioned, my team and your team are separated by a point. So we've also got Scuderia Basilia just in front of us. I can't remember who it is behind us. I want to say it might be Adonis. Who they're the kind of teams you're going to be fighting with throughout the rest of the year, you'd say?
Yeah. I know it's also Mad Cape as well. They're the ones just there. Yeah, so I think that's going to be quite a big battle looking at it. I mean, yeah, the top sort of teams I said earlier, like Edge, Evo, ACR, and even Red Arch now, they're probably going to be the ones at the top. But yeah, that battle behind is going to be very good between us, I think, because once the top teams take out the big points, we're only going to be going for what, I don't know,
876.
876 points.
Yeah.
So that's going to be very close, and one position is going to mean quite a lot when you get to that stage. And I'm looking forward to that, to be honest, because we got 13 races to go. So
we do.
It's
Absolutely.
nice
bring it on. Good. Excellent. All right, Cameron. Thank you for hanging around, and always good chatting with you. And we'll catch up again soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See you soon.
Nice one. Take care, mate. Cool. Right then, Ben. I think that's the show, mate.
I think so, yeah. It's getting to that time. 2 hours again. We're getting good at this.
We're going to be ill again next week, so it's going to be Mike and Tim next week. Right. So, yeah, let's round up everything. Thanks for listening, guys. Really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the show as well. Thank you to everyone who's got involved with the interviews and the comments and everything like that. Once again, it's worth reminding, you can download this and actually listen to it as a podcast on Downforce Radio. Check it out there. Anything else you'd like to say, Ben, before we sign off?
I think we pretty much covered it, but I know I mentioned it a couple of times. I'm super excited for the next episode. So if I'm dead or dying, or completely healthy, I will be there for the Overcut, because I think that's going to be spicy. I think we're going to have a lot of drivers wanting to say things after Baku. Couple of team managers as well, hopefully.
Excellent. Yep, we'll be there for another roundup of what is bound to be an excellent Super League race. Thank you for Sim News for helping us out as always. Thank you for producer Dan for streaming us again and doing all the slides and everything like that. Thank you, Dan. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time for the next episode. Nice one, guys. Take care. Bye.